Harbaughs. It is Thursday, September 3rd, 2015. I am Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5. Steve Wiltfong is on the line and will join us in a minute here. We would be remiss if we did not provide some form of an update on Cardale Jones. The quarterback from Ohio State was reportedly rushed to the hospital yesterday evening. It turns out he has a migraine headache. His mother commented to the Toledo Blade that he is fine. He'll recover. So anybody who's ever known anybody with a migraine headache, they are completely debilitating. I grew up in a house where my mother had them. They're debilitating and painful and horrible to go through, but they do pass. And people with migraine headaches have been very active in sports. Off the top of my head, two people I know who got them routinely were Terrell Davis and Dwayne Wade. And both of them have shown their athleticism throughout their career. So we wish Cardale the best of luck. If he's having to lie in a dark room today, don't shine any light anywhere around him and keep loud noises to a minimum. So get better, Cardale. Okay, Steve, not the most pleasant note to start on. How are things in the state of Indiana today?
Good morning, Daniel. It's heating up, going to be 91 again today, sending it your way to Dayton and Columbus. And looks like it's going to be a great weekend for football. I'm going to go to the Ball State game tonight and see the Fighting Football Cardinals tune up for their big game against Texas A&M next week. So I'm excited to go check out a college football game tonight in Muncie, Indiana. But I was at a high school game this past Friday, of course, Avon versus Ben Davis. Ben Davis was one of the first programs in high school football to have a strength coach. They've been one of the most successful programs in the Midwest, won the state championship last year, the only Indiana team to win a national championship. And this guy's been part of it all, their strength coach. And so with that, he's obviously a pioneer in his business and knows a lot of strength coaches on the college level, probably knows them all, and has spoke at many clinics. And he just kind of gushed about Mickey Marotti, and I know I have on the show before, but I could tell that Coach Marotti was one of his favorites. He got to know Coach dating back to when Coach was at Notre Dame, and then obviously has followed him. I think he may have even known Coach Marotti before his time at Notre Dame. But we talked about so much stuff, it's kind of a blur. Anyway, Coach Marotti, one of his favorites in college football, for some of the reasons being he looks at a strength coach as being the guy that, helps bring that culture to your football team and helps bring that toughness to your football team and says no one does it better than Coach Marotti. And he really emphasized how Coach Marotti really brings competition to everything that they do, and then that translates to football. Just they're competing in absolutely everything they're doing in the weight room, and also pointed to just how Coach Marotti is always evolving and is innovative. And, there are different time periods where different lifts have been more relevant to the game of football, and Coach Marotti seems to always be the guy who's out in front of that and knows how the game's trending on Saturdays and customizes what they do in the weight room to be prepared for that, because as the Ben Davis strength coach was pointing out to me, some strength coaches don't change at all, and they're doing the same thing for decades, and it's just not advantageous to growing as a football program. And you see the Ohio State team that they put on the field last year and how better they got as the season went on. That's I think that is also a credit to Coach Marotti for having his guys have the stamina to compete for that many games throughout the course of the season, where some teams are outstanding in September and October, and they may be the best team in college football in September and October, but you need to be the best team in November and December and in January when it's important, and Coach Marotti gets his guys ready to play at that time. And it was just real interesting to hear someone who's been doing it for 30-plus years for one of the best high school programs in the country to single out Coach Marotti. It was interesting and enlightening, and obviously I knew he was great, but just to hear another reason why. And again, he's one of the major reasons why Ohio State is the program they are right now.
No doubt, we've long sung Marotti's praises. Basically the first hire for Urban Meyer at Ohio State. I have a feeling if the Ohio State staff ship was sinking and Urban Meyer could grab one guy, I wouldn't be surprised if it was Marotti. Steve, you had a great story earlier this week where, we do pregame for this show. We've talked about every 2016 guy ad nauseum, but not to say that the focus has shifted for the staff, but 2017 has become real prominent. They were able to officially be recruited and such at the beginning of the week. Who are 5 guys in the class of 2017 that are going to become the guys we talk about on this show all the time now? So 5 guys you think Ohio State really wants in this class that you like too?
Well, obviously subject to change, and Ohio State's list will grow and the board will get bigger and the board will change as we learn more about these prospects. But, obviously the country's number one receiver, Trayvon Grimes, considered a huge Ohio State lean. I know that Trayvon has told other 2017 recruits that he's going to be a Buckeye. So feeling really good about where Ohio State stands with the receiver out of St. Thomas Aquinas down there in Florida. The running back, Trey Sermon, is a guy that Ohio State's really targeting for this class out of Georgia. They had him up for Friday Night Lights. Tony Alford spent a lot of time with him at Friday Night Lights, and they've been in touch. And Jeffrey Okuda, the nation's number one safety from Texas, is a guy the Buckeyes are high on. Jamius Williams, the nation's number one athlete from Georgia. Zachary Carter, defensive end from Florida. Cole Kmet, tight end from Chicago. They're targeting a lot of guys, and Ohio State's already put a lot of offers out. The thing that continues to impress me, even though it's to be expected, is Ohio State, they don't miss details, and that's why they win the national championship last year, and that's why they were so successful at Florida, this staff under Urban Meyer, and really at Utah and Bowling Green is his attention to detail and his staff's attention to detail. Everything's important. Whatever's in the moment is what's important. And so we're tweeting out on September 1st who's made first contact with prospects. And I get the occasional sarcastic tweet from a fan from wherever saying, does it even matter? And that fan's probably right. September 1st, if Ohio State's the first to contact the kid, is that the reason why a kid's going to pick the Buckeyes in 2 months or 6 months or 8 months? Probably not. But I do think recruiting is a game of inches. I do think everything adds up. And Ohio State was, in my opinion, from what I could tell, as prepared, if not more prepared than any other school for September 1st, the first day that college programs could contact high school juniors per NCAA rules. And I'm staying up till midnight, and I'm shooting out messages, and then I'm doing the same at 1 a.m. to the guys in the Central Time Zone, and 2 a.m. for the Mountain Time, and 3 a.m. for the West Coast Time. And I promise, no one said Ohio State more, or no one said a school more than Ohio State. Who was first to make contact? Ohio State. So it's just the attention to detail. They're winning every day, so they won that day. And so now Ohio State looks to how can we win the next day on the recruiting trail, because they won September 1st, and they made an impression on so many kids that day. And I think it sticks with them, and it's just impressive to me. And some schools don't do that. A lot of schools don't have a plan in place. So, again, the Urban Meyer recruiting machine, it goes to the assistant coaches that work their asses off on the recruiting trail, the off-field people led by Mark Pantoni who work their asses off every day. And that's what leads to Ohio State having not only outstanding recruiting classes, because, yes, they're ranked high, but it's full of difference makers. It's full of less bust guys, because Ohio State does a good job of watching full game films and instead of just highlight tapes, and making sure that, yeah, this kid has 27 offers, but is he really that good a player? Well, yes, he is a good player, because we watched 4 of his full game films. We didn't just watch his highlight tape. And you'd be surprised how many college programs are offering kids just on highlight tapes and not watching full games. So that attention to detail is just impressive. So watching them crush it on September 1st and seeing Ohio State as the answer for so many kids was, I put a smile on my face, because I know how hard these guys are working, and it seems to pay off, because sometimes, you can work hard and it doesn't work in your favor.
Yeah, that put a smile on my face too, ironically. All right, one guy I have to ask you about in 2017 before we sign off. I went through and watched a whole bunch of videos. Paris Ford, the receiver out of Pennsylvania, is that freakish athleticism that jumps off the screen. Where do the Buckeyes stand with Paris Ford?
Yeah, top 100 safety out of Pittsburgh, definitely a priority target for Ohio State, a guy that they've gotten in on early and gotten to campus, and I think they're in the lead group definitely for Paris, and his recruitment will be a grind, and we'll see. I think that DeMar Hamlin will impact his recruitment. We've talked about that many times. I have, Bill Kierlich has, Alex Gleitman has, so that's no surprise, and so I think Ohio State's in a good spot with DeMar Hamlin also. So we'll see, but I think that Ohio State's in a really good spot for Paris Ford right now.
That was some knowledge, people. If you got anything out of that conversation with Steve, it's that the future remains blindingly bright. So we appreciate Steve stopping by. We are ecstatic the college football season is here. Go Utah.